Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score!
Ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being.
Washed it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey, a margarita, and a Bloody Mary. And I said, Stone Cold, why have one when you can have them both?
Swung out and drilled! Deep right center! Away back! Gone for Tony!
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up.
It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton?
Awful.
How is she awful?
Hates freedom.
And now, Any Given Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Ward and Ethan Simpson.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup! Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection!
Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Any Given Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brendan Ward, sitting across the internet from my man,
Ethan Simpson. How are you?
He's a host as well. I don't know why I said host. Co-host. We co-host this mother scratcher here. Almost did it 2 seconds in. We've been trying to work on that. It almost was almost 2 seconds in. But nevertheless, we're here to do a job. One of those jobs is to sell you the shirts. Numbers don't lie. The B is an orange 6. The rest of the shirt is brown and white. Our man Howie's got it on off camera. Ethan's about to do a little tango with him. You know what I'm saying? Get it in the picture. Howie looks like Howie's got a little scrub on his head. It's falling over his head, but he looks
like Joey Ramone.
There you go. But nevertheless, a beautiful shirt. You know where you can find it, but just in case you don't, we're gonna tell you where can they find it, my man.
KentStagePosters.com.
What was
That's
that?
KentStagePosters.com.
If you didn't hear him, I'm going to tell you again, KentStagePosters.com. It is the place to be for all of your needs. We got the Numbers Don't Lie shirt, but what else can they get at KentStagePosters.com?
You can get a variety of one of your favorite concerts at the Kent Stage. Not all of them, but a tremendous amount. You can get your War poster. You can get your Steve Earle poster. God rest his soul. You can get Justin Towns Earl's poster. You can get Michael Stanley. You can get any of these people who have played at the Kent Stage. You can get Eric Vardon posters. Shall I go on? Or should you just check it out for yourself?
I believe they should check it out for themselves because there's no way you can go wrong when you visit KentStagePosters.com. But we're going to go ahead and move on. The excitement of the week last week was Thursday night. The draft was sure to be electric, descending down onto the beautiful city of Cleveland. It looked gorgeous all weekend. But to kick off the excitement on Thursday, we're going to go ahead and get into something really quick before we get into the draft. Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers on Thursday, Adam Schefter reported that he has basically said he will not be returning to the team. He has no interest in being a Green Bay Packer anymore unless they fire their GM. And it looks like they're kind of at a stalemate to the point where the biggest excitement of the draft isn't who were the 49ers going to take at 3. It was, will somebody trade for Aaron Rodgers?
Absolutely. And did you see him? He didn't even care about the draft. He went down to the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, yeah. He was just doing his own thing.
Out. He said, you know what? What's going to happen is going to happen. He knows the stock that he still has. He is 37, if I'm not mistaken, correct? 37, 36?
Yeah, somewhere. He's up there in age, but
he's still got quite a few years to go. I mean, especially with him dating Olivia Munn and Danica Patrick. Like, Danica Patrick was probably running him like crazy, same with Olivia Munn. So it's not like he's just dating these random girls or anything.
Yeah, he's a married man. He's getting married now, though.
Yes, I know, and I saw that picture. He kind of looked a little goofy in the picture, but hey, why not? Have fun. Have fun, because you're going to find a new home here soon. But, you know, his exes and his and his future wife, they've been running him around. It's not like he's just sitting at the house with them eating Cheez-Its and Hot Pockets. They're going out to fancy restaurants and stuff. So he is taking care of himself the way, maybe not the same way as Tom Brady, but in the same way. So he will definitely play until he's at least 41.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. He's got plenty of time. I think it's crazy, though, that he kind of wanted out. Devontae Adams did tweet out yesterday, you got to appreciate what you got while you got it. So maybe some disillusion there as well. Maybe Adams wants out. Maybe that's kind of what he's talking about. Maybe he's got some disillusion with the front office as well. And Adams and Rodgers are both wanting out of Green Bay.
I could see them doing a Brady and Gronk thing and going to another team.
Adams is top 5 now.
Yeah.
We both agree Rodgers is, if Brady wasn't in the league, Rodgers is number 1 probably. Well, there's a guy named Mahomes that you could argue there, but you know what I'm saying there. But we're going to move on to the Browns, because what a fantastic draft they ended up having in the first round, as we talked about for so long. They picked at pick number 26. End up taking Greg Newsome II, so Greg Newsome Jr. out of Northwestern, Big Ten defensive back. Everything you hear about this kid is he's a great leader, he's a captain, he's smart, he's physical. Arguably one of the best corners in all of college football. The Browns get him at 26.
Yeah, perfect place for him to go. Perfect pickup for the Browns. What have we been talking about for months? And that's what the Browns did throughout this whole draft. We'll get into it a little bit later as we get on through the draft, the picks, but what they have done, fantastic. He's going to be a great asset into that secondary where, you do have the Warden. You just got Troy Hill. Yeah, it's fantastic. And who else did they pick up for that secondary? John Johnson. I think things are starting to look up. And I've seen a lot of reports saying that the Browns have won this draft. They get a gold star or a gold medal.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I've looked around and seen anybody that really didn't give them an A- or anything lower than an A-. Like you said, sign me up for a corner rotation of Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome II, Greedy Williams, and Troy Hill. Right? That's
Greedy Williams. My apologies, Greedy. I forgot your name.
Well,
but I've been talking about him all year, so.
He seems to be healthy. He seems to be ready to go. He showed some flashes of being just as good as Denzel that rookie year before he got hurt. As long as he's good to go and stays healthy, I'm here for it.
Absolutely, 100%. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say one of the weak points headed towards one of the strongest points headed into this season.
Absolutely. And then in the second round, which was a steal, everybody thought he was going in the first round. Your guy from Notre Dame.
J.O.K. We ain't going to butcher his name, so we'll call him J.O.K. But yeah, right? Get him at 52, by all means. It's almost like the year they got greedy, you know what I'm saying? He ended up being a second rounder. People thought like they would have picked him at 17 if they wouldn't have traded that pick for Odell. Here, everyone thought that J.O.K. was going to the Browns at 26. I personally thought he wouldn't make it to 26. I thought he was a top 15 talent. Here they get him at 52. I want to talk about J.O.K. a little bit because I think he was the best linebacker in this draft. Unfortunately, everyone else thinks the best linebacker in the draft got picked by the Dallas Cowboys. I still disagree. There's a lot to that. We won't get into the Dallas Cowboys radio today. We'll stay with J.O.K. I think he immediately puts himself in that position where, with the depth that they've added at linebacker, Taki or Mac Wilson are potentially fighting for a roster spot coming up this year.
Yeah, and look for that. Who do you really see? Because Taki, he performed last year, but he had off games. Mac Wilson performed last year, but he had off games. So that's going to be a really That's going to be that's going to come down to the wire.
I mean, I agree. You're returning 3 linebackers from last year. Those 2 and then Malcolm Smith. Malcolm Smith was your most consistent guy and your best in coverage. So I think he stays. That's why I believe it's between Taki and Mac Wilson, and it really just depends on who comes to camp ready. And right now, Taki's pretty silent, but all we see from Mac Wilson is Photoshop pictures on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on Instagram he's put up some videos of him working out. Mac Wilson has. So, yeah, like I'm saying, it's going to come down to the wire between those 3. But great pick, 52nd overall. Fantastic pick for the Browns. Do you want to get a little more in depth into that pick?
I mean, we can really. Like I said, I think he's the Lamar Jackson stopper. He's the Kansas City Chiefs stopper. The flack on this guy was that he was undersized, but he's got the speed. I think the Browns took a look at where they fell short last year, and they fell short in that divisional round game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And when picking this guy, I think they said, why did we get down to the Kansas City Chiefs like we did to where that we couldn't come back even when their all-world quarterback wasn't in? And they looked at it and they thought, speed. They couldn't, and even as homers, we could take a look at that Kansas City game and say the Browns on defense could not keep up with the speed of the Kansas City Chiefs. They were all over the place. 1 minute Travis Kelce was here. The next minute he was 30 yards downfield. Tyreek Hill would do an end around. 1 minute he's behind Patrick Mahomes or Chad Henne. Next minute he's 30 yards downfield. Mecole Hardman, the same thing. We saw the speed of the Kansas City Chiefs. The other thing that killed the Browns all of last year was Lamar Jackson's speed on the outside and being able to run pretty much wherever he wanted in the 2 games they played together. And who are the top 2 rivals in the AFC, would you argue, aside from the Buffalo Bills?
Browns, Chiefs.
And Ravens, right?
Well, the Ravens, yeah, you said 2.
I was thinking besides the Browns and the Bills.
Oh, besides the Browns and the Bills, then it would be Chiefs, Ravens.
Yeah. So I think that they believe they can beat the Bills just head on. Just our running backs are better. If we sit down physically, just pound you in the mouth, they can beat you. The thing they couldn't stop was the speed of those other 2 teams, and they really set themselves forth on defense, especially with the pick of Jeremiah Owusu-Kamara. See, I knew I wasn't going to say his name because I'd mess it up. So the pick of JOK really told me that they are really focused on keeping up with the speed of the Chiefs and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, so I let you do that, which I totally agree with everything you just said, but what was reported on JOK yesterday?
Oh, okay, so Tony Grossi, who I'm not going to talk down on, everyone can have their opinions on him. Tony Grossi reports yesterday that JOK had a condition with, I can't remember if it was heart or lung, that was
heart.
It was his heart? Okay.
Pre-existing, yeah.
A pre-existing condition with his heart that apparently doctors have cleared him to play and said that it shouldn't be an ongoing issue, but that is the reason he fell to 52 with the Browns. The only question I have here, go ahead, legit.
Oh, no, I was going to say, you know what? Hopefully, like you said, the doctors have cleared him for play, but you know, if that brought him down to 52, I'm not going to say I'm happy because that's I'm happy that he came to the Browns, and I'm happy that he's okay.
Yeah, but not happy he's dealing with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes.
My only questioning with it is, how did Tony Grossi get the story and nobody else?
Yeah, kind of strange because, you know, there's a lot more people that could get that information, insider information. I don't know, Nathan Zagura.
Well, I mean, he would be tops in lines if you would think of it as a Browns reporter, right? Or something like that. But I'm talking about before this kid was even drafted, not knowing who he was going to go to. There was no NFL insider reporting it, Schefter, Rappaport, none of them. No Aditi Quinquabala, who covers the area teams. She covers like Pittsburgh, Philly, Cleveland, Cincinnati, all those guys. None of that reporting. No reporting from any sort of ESPN guy, NFL guy, some cashier at a corner store who broke Patrick Mahomes' contract last year. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get like all this story. We didn't. So all of a sudden, after he's drafted, he's a Cleveland Brown. Everyone's happy. They feel they have the steal of the draft. We get the negativity from Tony Grossi, who apparently is the only person to have the story. It still hasn't been confirmed by any other outlet besides himself. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm not going to talk down on him. I'm going to take it. I'm going to worry about it because somebody said it, and it's a guy that's connected. I know he's got connections. I know who he works for and stuff like that. So I know like it's very possible that this could be a real story. I just want to know why it's not a bigger story. Why is ESPN Cleveland the only people reporting it?
Yeah, especially with him going projected so high in the draft and going where he went. You'd think ESPN would be all over it. They love those stories. That's what they eat, sleep, and breathe. And I'm not talking about ESPN Cleveland. I'm talking about ESPN in Connecticut or Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, if you remember back, Bud Dupree, who is now in Tennessee but played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he slid to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second round because the entire draft they sat and talked about how he was a top 10 talent who had a knee injury. Yeah. And he ended up in the second round. Jalen Smith ends up with the Cowboys. He's fine now. But the reason he slid so far is because ESPN spent 6 months telling us about his knee surgery. But this kid's got a heart condition, and we don't hear about it until the Cleveland Browns local radio insider tells us. And no knock on that, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like it'd be a good story.
There is definitely a big difference between having knee injuries, which, don't get me wrong, you have the arteries in your leg. Something could happen that could be life-threatening, But this guy has a heart condition. This is not you blew out your knee, tore your ACL, MCL. This is a heart condition.
Exactly. This is a bigger issue. They should be reporting that shit more.
Yeah.
Like, it don't make any sense to me that, like, even after he fell, and so once he was picked at 52, the whole insider table was just like, well, I can't believe he fell this far. It's surprising he got picked at 52. What happened? Were they just worried about his size? Like, nobody understood why JOK fell to 52 until 4 days after the draft. Tony Grossi was like, well, he had a heart condition.
Beats me, man. I guess it wasn't part of... if he would have went to, like, this, I don't know, the Patriots or something like that, maybe it would be a big story. But I guess since he went to Cleveland, people don't care. I don't know.
Maybe
that's just me watching all this. The small market teams they don't really talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could buy into maybe that theory of it. You know what I'm saying? Now that he's already drafted, Cleveland's insiders are reporting it. NFL's like, well, who cares? He's already been drafted. But I still feel like if this was something that he went through a process of seeing doctors to be cleared to play, it probably should have been reported by the NFL or ESPN prior to the draft, or been a big storyline on both the first and second night of the draft. But I don't work for those guys, so who knows? Maybe it was decided that was better off not talked about until now, apparently. But we're going to move on from JOK. We've been on him for nearly 20 minutes now. In the third round, I like this pick. I know we both would have preferred them to pick another wide receiver who we'll talk about in a few when we're done with the Browns picks. But they pick Anthony Schwartz. Arguably, well, not arguably, he is now the fastest guy in the NFL. Again, what they take a look at last year, the speed of the opposing teams that they're going to have to play at the pinnacle of the AFC. I'm talking divisional round, AFC title game, and they realize that they can't keep up with those guys. So they go pick a guy who can be their Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
That's what they did here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100%. And that's why they took him so high in the third round. They could have waited to drop down to pick up other wide receivers like they did in the sixth, but we'll get into that here in a second. But, if you watch his tape, he's speedy. He can run the routes. He can do all that. He's got the hands to do it. I like this pick. I like this pick a lot. And like you said, we just have to match speed with speed. And, God forbid anything happens to OBJ with his already messed up knee, Jarvis Landry with his ribs and his hip, and his hernia and all that. We got this guy who can go out there and who we could toss in on third down and bring him in, and he can bust out a 15-yard slant and catch it 20 yards down the field and just burn out the cornerbacks.
Yeah, that's what this guy is. He's gonna run deep fades. He's gonna try to get open on quick routes and use his speed to make a play, or he's gonna run end arounds. You know what I'm saying? He's probably gonna return kicks this year.
Yeah, and I'd like to see that. We need some speed back there. We haven't had speed back there since Josh Cribbs like that. Granted, we had Antonio Callaway and a couple other guys. We had Donovan Peoples-Jones last year. But if you want to get through the punt return, you got to get that speed and power coming right through you.
And Peoples-Jones, as much as I like him, he's not the speed guy. You need to develop him to be the outside number one guy. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. That's what he needs to be developed into. This kid, he's a flyer. They took a flyer on a third-round pick for a kid that's going to contribute on special teams, and if he can develop into a very strong receiver, be like I said, Tyreek Hill. But we never know.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill was one of those guys that they didn't know what was going to come about him until he got drafted and started playing. It's one of those things. That's why a lot of people are like, why are you watching the draft at a day 3? Like, this is boring. It's like, because you get these names, because you never know what's going to happen. Tom Brady got drafted 199th overall. I think that they were saying that Shannon Sharp was drafted 192 or 193 overall. Don't quote me on that, but I watched all 3 days of the draft, and it's exciting to watch because you know what? Some players don't even get drafted, and they turn out to be some of the best players that have ever played. Hence, look at my guy Antonio Gates. He didn't even play football in college. He played basketball. He took his team to the Elite Eight, and that would be the 2002 Kent State Golden Flashes basketball team. And you know what he did? He went to a tryout for the San Diego Chargers, made the team. Now he's going into Canton.
Right? And that's kind of like, I hate people that do that. Well, I don't hate anybody, but I dislike people that do that just simply because, okay, it's not interesting to you, but to me, this is great. This is awesome. When that random rookie does end up being, great, or who knows, like you said, the 6th round pick. Dak won Rookie of the Year. He was a 4th round pick.
Exactly.
Russell Wilson is widely reviewed as the elite of the elite in the NFL, 3rd round pick. Like, all these guys.
Antonio Brown, he dropped down to the 6th round, right?
Yeah. Nobody even knew who Antonio Brown was until he unfortunately did his thing in Pittsburgh. So, like, or we get into, like, who the Browns pick next, who I think could be really good. They pick him up in the 4th round, James Hudson, that tackle. I don't think, he's not here to play left tackle. He's here to play right tackle. Eventually, I feel like they're going to trade Jack Conklin or try to get out of those contracts, simply because Wyatt Teller ended up being the best guard in all of football, and you're going to pay that guy. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to let him walk.
Yeah, and that's the one thing when you're talking about the right side. Unfortunately, there was too many injuries on the right side of the offensive line for the Browns last year.
Yeah.
I know Jedrick went down a few times, but Jedrick, he's a young guy. He could bounce back. It wasn't anything severe. They were, just precautions. But if you build up that offensive line and you get somebody who can play any side, or either side of the line, you got a superstar right there for you.
Yeah, and this Hudson kid is that. He's versatile. He's strong. He's nice with his feet. They play in the American. He was the offensive tackle of the year in the American. Just a good guy that I feel like is going to be really good. And it's one of those guys they found in the 4th round. Also, think the other guy they got in the 4th round, Tommy Togiai, is going to be a very good defensive tackle in the NFL. It might take him 4 or 5 years to develop, but once he does, I think he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And those two, the one thing those 2 4th rounders have in common, James Hudson, before he transferred to Cincy, pretty much told Harbaugh to go fuck himself. I'll be the first one to say, you said the S word, you said shit.
Yeah.
Earlier.
So we're 1-1.
He told him to go F himself, and then Tommy, he played at OSU, so he was doing the same thing.
Right? He was just beating him.
Yeah, so 2 great pickups in the 4th round. They have to grow, they have to learn. I can kind of see Tommy from OSU going down to the practice squad. I can see a lot of these guys going down to the practice squad or 3rd string.
Well, potentially. They have 8 defensive tackles now on the roster. And they're not going to keep all of them. So, but they're going to give them all. They're going to give them all a shot, right? I truthfully think that practice squad could be a very, very real destination here for Togiai. Like I said, 4 or 5 years. I think it's going to take him to develop. He's not ready, but last year you saw him bully Trevor Lawrence in that bowl game, and then he didn't play in the national championship.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. Like I was saying about practice squad, is there's nothing wrong with going down to the practice squad. A lot of people think they're being demoted. Going to the practice squad is like going to playing AAA in MLB, playing AAA and AA.
Yeah.
You go down there to learn so that one day you can come up to the big leagues.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a minor league system. They don't have a minor league system in the NFL. That is it, right? So, sure, you're not actively playing in games or whatever, but you're there every week getting the necessary information you need to just make yourself better. So both of those picks I was a very big fan of. 5th round, they go with Tony Fields II out of West Virginia. Another just productive, fast, versatile linebacker who was very good in the Big 12.
Yeah. Once again, speaking of practice squad, I have a feeling he's going to drop down to the practice squad because how many linebackers we've been talking about.
Right. I already said that Taki and Wilson will probably maybe even be cut, so it's going to be hard for Fields to make the team too. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's just, once again, there should be a minor league for the NFL, and that's what they were trying to do at first with the AAF, then they were trying to do with the XFL. Nothing came of it. Let's see what The Rock can do here with his new team. But, yeah, Tony Fields II, fantastic player, speed, power hitter, a little undersized, just a little bit for, my style of linebacker, but he can put on some weight in the offseason, lifting out and doing that, training with all these guys. So I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, I can't wait for him. I was a big fan of his at WVU. They also took Richard LeCount III, a safety out of Georgia. To me, this is 100% a practice squad guy. Not a great grade on him coming out athletically, but mentally he's there. He's one of the best. He played in the SEC. That's big time college football, man. There's a lot to be said about that. And some of these safeties that you don't think of come out of nowhere, and they're just studs. and this could very well be that, and he could eat my words. But with a safety room of John Johnson, Ronnie Harrison, and numerous others, it's going to be hard for Richard LeCount not to be a practice squad guy.
Yeah, and who knows? Let's see what training camp. All the guys that I said could end up on the practice squad, we have to wait until training camp because who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what they can do competing with other actual NFL players. By actual, I mean veterans.
Yeah, I mean, both of those, linebacker and safety, I don't know. Aside from JOK and John Johnson, there's probably no guaranteed starters at all. All of these guys are here to compete.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's not any guaranteed starters.
I feel like Johnson, just because they paid him so much, is probably guaranteed to be the one.
You said there ain't no guaranteed. I said,
you were fixing my grammar. Yeah, it's been weird today, hasn't it? It's a little off.
And it's been rainy all day. Everybody's sinuses are filled. Everybody feels, it's one of those days you just want to go to sleep, curl up on the couch. It's been like that almost all week, except for Saturday. They got the one break.
Saturday was gorgeous. Sunday was nice.
Oh, I know. Yeah, Sunday wasn't too bad, but it just hopped right back into the rain. But you know what? This isn't a meteorologist podcast. This is a sports podcast. So we're going to go on to the 6th round. Demetric Felton, wide receiver out of UCLA, UCLA. Now, what do you see with him? Because I kind of want to say practice squad here because we're so stacked on wide receivers right now.
I think you're probably right. He's a flyer guy. It's a whatever. We had a 6th round pick, maybe kind of guy. I did read that they're gonna kind of try him at running back, which is probably just like okay. I'm not sure how he makes the team at running back over. Well, obviously Hunt and Chubb make the team, but they also have Hilliard and Dearness Johnson. And Dearness Johnson last year, when Chubb was out, made this team. He was a very big part of that run game.
Yeah, I could see them switching between Felton and Schwartz for kick returner, punt returner, that type of thing, having those guys just do special teams, and then working DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, into a receiver slot, like we were saying, not a slot receiver, but a spot in the receiver slots. I could definitely see that happening. I've seen it before on the Browns. People they've picked up in late rounds that have turned into great special teams players or wide receivers, slot wide receivers, anything like that. So I could definitely see that happening.
Heck, honestly, the path for everyone that they drafted besides Newsome, JOK, and the 2 big guys in the 4th round, their path to making the team is all probably special teams. Fields is probably a special teams linebacker. LeCount is probably a special teams guy. Felton, definitely special teams, like you said. Schwartz is probably already notched in as the returner. He's probably already written in as the kick returner. That guy's too fast not to put out there. But I could also see a situation where Donovan Peoples-Jones is the sure-handed returner. You know what I'm saying? The situation where they're punting into the red zone. So like touchback situations and stuff like that, I think they might put a little more sure-handed Donovan Peoples-Jones in there.
Yeah, that would make sense. Depending on the situation, like what happens, switching it up, I could definitely see that because he's had the year of experience. He played very well last season, so I'm just excited to see what these guys do, what Kevin Stefanski and crew can line up. And I'm just excited to see where it goes because, like I said at the beginning, they gave them the gold medal, the A minus, depending on who you read, it was A minus, A, or A plus. So,
And I mean, the off season's over now, right? We got rookie mini camps. They're not going to OTAs, training camp. That's where we're at. Off season's over now. I think universally it's agreed that the Browns were the top contender that got better. Is the one of those teams that were on top that made themselves that much significantly better. Sure, the Chiefs kind of shuffled their offensive line, and you could argue that their offensive line is a little better than it was last year. But the Browns significantly overhauled that defense. They were one of the AFC's top contenders at the end of last year, and I don't know if there's any team in the NFL that used this offseason better than they did. So my question to you is it now Super Bowl or bust?
Oh man, you're gonna put me in that situation.
I mean, let's take a look at it, right? Get the win last year, the playoff win. Sure, I guess we could take it step by step and say, well, let's make it to the AFC Championship game, and by all means, if that's where we end up at the end of this year, but don't make it to the Super Bowl, then I think I'd be pretty satisfied. But with what this team can be and what we both, I feel like, agree on as how much better they have got, so long as Joe Wood's the guy that can put this defense together, the Browns should be a scary team. Top 10 offense, top 10 defense.
Absolutely, but here's the thing: we would have had to make it to the AFC Championship game if it wasn't for that blown call to helmet. I mean, I hate to be one of those guys that says it, but you look at any other fan base in the NFL, and they're telling you, yeah, that was a legal-ass hit. That was helmet to helmet. He put the crown of his helmet into his ear. That's helmet to helmet. That's an illegal hit.
I mean, and if anybody wants to argue with you, the Saints fans still think they should be Super Bowl champions from 2 years ago.
Hey, I mean, if you're going to call these illegal hits all year and then only do that because you guys, look, I'm not saying there's money being thrown around in the NFL, but there's definitely money being thrown around in the NFL.
The Browns were coming back on the Darlings.
Yeah, and they didn't like that, so they got that call. But I'm saying AFC Championship this year, but with all the talent we have this year surrounding our defense, I wouldn't be surprised about the Super Bowl. And you know how, like, I'm getting butterflies in my stomach right now.
Yeah, that felt weird, right?
We have to be, right? I'm getting goosebumps over here.
Yeah, that felt a little weird. But you kind of proved my statement, right? A non-blown call there at the end of the half with Rashard Higgins, or a non-blown 3rd and 14 to backup cornerback Chad Henne, which I don't believe this defense they have now would do that. The Browns are automatically, they're in that AFC title game, and we've had extensive conversations with if that Browns team that showed up against Kansas City showed up again that next week against Buffalo, they still beat Buffalo and end up in the Super Bowl. A couple of things bounced the Browns' way. I feel like they were playing Tom Brady in the Super Bowl last year. So that's why I said Super Bowl or bust. You don't have to answer it. I know you said that you wouldn't be surprised, but that's why I said it, because 2 or 3 things. We're not talking about a bunch of different things. I'm not laying out a laundry list of things, you know what I'm saying? I'm laying out 2 things that if they bounced a different way, we'll say 3, because we'll say the Buffalo game had to go their way as well. But two things in that divisional round against the Chiefs bounce a different way. They're already in the AFC title game, and then we've got a game against Buffalo, who didn't show up that week against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I fully believe that the Browns could have beaten the Bills in the championship game. Could they have beaten the Buccaneers? No. I don't think so. Not with that team. Not with that defense.
No, I mean, it would have taken that Bucs defense shut down that Kansas City offense pretty well, and the Bucs offense moved through that Kansas City defense like a hot knife like a hot knife through butter, and the Browns defense was worse. So no,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody was beating Tampa in that Super Bowl outside of the NFC. I thought Rodgers and the Packers had a pretty good shot, but they were pretty much the only team I thought had a shot.
Hey, maybe don't call that stupid ass field goal
Yeah,
when you're down 3.
maybe. Yeah,
And
maybe.
you could have easily made. Hey, whatever.
Yeah,
Or, no, wait. It was.
they were down like.
They're down 7, right? Wasn't it 7 or were they?
I
down
think it was
8?
like. I think it was like 4 or 6. No, it was 8. It was 8 because they
8.
made the field goal.
Yeah, they kicked the field goal, so it was 3, and everybody was like, "Why would you?" It's kind of the same thing as when they decided to throw the ball and Malcolm Butler intercepted it instead of just running Marshawn Lynch from the 2-yard line.
Well, the only difference is like it was 4th down, but still it's 4th down. You're down 8 with 3 minutes left in the NFC title game, bro. You don't kick a field goal in that situation, especially when you have the most elite quarterback in all of football, not named Tom Brady, on your team.
Are you going to trust your 3-time MVP quarterback who is straight first ballot into Canton?
Yeah.
Or are you going to trust a kicker to randomly do that and time's running out? And you already know as soon as the field goal goes through, they have timeouts left and they can kneel the ball. It's no wonder Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay because that's just ridiculous play calling.
But anything else on football, man? We're 3/4 of the way done, and we haven't even got baseball yet.
Yeah, I just want to say a big shout out to our guy, big friend of the podcast, our first ever guest on the show, Isaiah McCoy. Unfortunately, didn't go drafted, but maybe 10 minutes after the draft, he was immediately signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, I made a tweet, and I said, I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I love to see my guys eat. And when I said my guys, I meant my friends, people that I help support, whether it's in the music industry or in sports. You know what? I was so happy when I saw him go to the Steelers. Obviously not him going to the Steelers, but him going somewhere because he deserved it. And I could tell, for the past 2 years, I've seen how hard he works and everything. So Isaiah McCoy, congratulations. It's going to suck buying a McCoy Steelers jersey, but it's going to happen like that. I'll just frame it and send it to you. You can sign it for me.
It'll make it feel so much better buying that jersey. When he takes Juju's job this year.
Oh, dude, when he's out there, look, I'll root for him like I said. It's like having a fantasy football player on your team, right? Mm-hmm. You don't like that team. I've picked up multiple guys from the Steelers on my fantasy football team. I root for them individually.
If you could score, you would score.
Yeah. Until it comes down to the 2 games they're playing in Cleveland or against Cleveland. And I'm going to just be like, all right, hopefully he gets catches, but no touchdowns.
Right? Like, yeah. I get it, man. It's all about just rooting for your friends, and friendship is trumps fan loyalty. That's what happens. Friendship trumps fan loyalty. All love for Isaiah McCoy. Me and you both were glued to the TV on Saturday, watching every single pick, hoping one of them was him. Like you said, unfortunately, one wasn't, but hard work pays off. Not even 10 minutes after the draft, signed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hell of a job. Look for him to be one of the next Kent State undrafted free agents to just take over the league.
And like I said on Facebook, as soon as the draft ended, I posted, never underestimate McCoy. And I said, hey, some of the greatest NFL players went undrafted. And there you go.
Yeah.
So, sucks to root for the Steelers, but that's our boy. That's our guy.
Hell yeah, we will be. But let's go ahead and get into baseball. What you got for me, our man?
All right, so the Indians have won 2 of 3 over the Chicago White Sox. over the weekend before taking Game 1 over KC in their 3-game series, which started on Monday. Let me tell you what about that. Caught the highlights of the game last night. Hitting is they're starting to open up.
I've been pretty surprised with some of the numbers they put up lately.
Yeah, so currently they're currently 14-13, sitting 2 games behind the Royals at top the AL Central. But if this hitting keeps popping up and we don't make any more errors in the outfield or at shortstop, I think we're going to be looking good here in the next couple weeks.
I believe so. I think they're setting up nicely. Jordan Luplow is dealing with some soreness in his leg, so we'll see what that is. But he missed yesterday's game, and there were some guys that stepped up. I think it's been big to see like some of the non mainstream guys string together some stuff. Sure, Jose's playing at an MVP level. Franmil has looked good, but Franmil missed yesterday, and they scored 8 runs.
Yeah, he's actually coming back here in a couple. Actually, in about 15 minutes. Yeah. But you know what? It's a shame to see Luplow go down because he was actually starting to get right out of his shell.
Did you see my tweet earlier?
I did not.
Barstool tweeted this like baby gender reveal announcement where this guy was swinging a bat trying to hit it, and it said something like, "Congrats to Francisco Lindor on the baby," and I tweeted something like, "Dang, Lindor should have stayed in Cleveland, where we'll love you even if you go 0 for 21. Just ask your boy Luplow, who's been on fire to start this season."
Yeah, absolutely. He came back for a redemption tour after last season, but Francisco Lindor, 21 straight at bats without a single hit. Hope that money was worth it, New York. But hey, that's what you guys are used to. We're used to Francisco Lindor hitting a couple droughts throughout the season, and you get the casual Indians fan like, he stinks, get him out of here. Like, do, whatever. But real fans understand what droughts are. I'm expecting Francisco to come out of this drought sometime here in the next month, and then he's going to go on fire, and and then you're going to see all the Mets fans that were talking all that smack be like, "We love you, Francisco."
Yeah, they'll go from hating him to love him, and we'll have to hear the whole thing. It'll be all over Twitter. It'll be a mess. But right now, while I can talk my crap, I'm going to talk my crap.
Oh, absolutely. You should have never left, you punk, you scumbag.
Wait, Luplow's playing.
Yeah, he's playing tonight.
Oh, so he's back. I read earlier that he wasn't going to play. That's why I put it on the list.
Yeah, Franmil's back too. They just took a quick break.
Yeah, the thing I read earlier said Luplow was going to be out for a couple games. Maybe I read it wrong. But whatever. Apparently he's back. He's hitting right now. It just started. I just turned it on, actually. So that's what I saw. But we're going to get into the Cavs because this was the story of the weekend for me in Cleveland, aside from the draft. Reports came out on Sunday that within the Cavs locker room, many are unhappy with how Colin Sexton dominates the ball on offense. Even going so far as to say that other teams are taunting people before the games, saying, he's not going to pass you the ball, bro. That came via Joe Vardon of the Athletic.
I mean, you see it's a tough thing because there's games where he just is a ball hog the whole time, but there's other games where he's tossing it and making plays. He's still a young bull, but he still needs to learn and grow. But if you see him playing like that, I don't think it's right that teams are taunting him like that. highest scorer on the team.
Right, and that's kind of I'm very conflicted too, right? Because he is the most efficient scorer on the team. He's the best scorer on the team. He's been told he's the franchise, right? He's the franchise player is where the media has him at as well. So why wouldn't he be at his point guard position, ball dominant? And I get maybe he could be a better playmaker, but that comes with development. It's very. You can't expect a guy who didn't have to pass at Alabama to all of a sudden be the best passer in the world 3 years post this thing. Because I don't know if you remember at Alabama, but it was him. He'd score like 40-some points a game, and that's why he got drafted by the Cavs at number 8 because of that. And I know he's going to have to fix the issues, but 3 years into his career, nobody's perfect, man. It took Dame and CJ and all of them 5 or 6 years to jump up. Nobody's going to be LeBron James within 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things. It's a developmental thing. Right now, he just needs to learn how to pass the ball, kind of read the court. And there are, like I said, there's games where he passes them, and there's games when he doesn't. But the games where he doesn't, he drives up the court, gets into the paint, or he hits that open three. It's not like he's sitting there purposely just hogging the ball. He sees it, he can read the court, and he sees it and goes after it. But like you said, a developmental thing. Let's see how he can go. Obviously, once again, like you said, everybody tells him he's the face of the franchise. So I don't know, that maybe they need to bring in on the offseason a couple more veterans that can help and train him, almost like they did with Chris Paul down in Phoenix.
Yeah, I would say the problem is the veterans that are on the team now that are supposed to be doing that just aren't, right? I mean,
yeah.
You have slim pickings. It's Kevin Love and Chetty Osman, really.
Matthew Dellavedova.
Deli and Larry Nance Jr. Those are your 4 veterans. Everyone else is pretty young. Kevin Love has his own issues. We don't really need to get into that. Me and you both agreed last week maybe we need to apologize. But since then he had the incident. Since then he had the incident, and now he goes on a podcast and says he'd love to play in Portland. A week after going in on a press conference tour and telling us how he loves Cleveland and he effing rocks with it until he'll effing rock with it until the day he dies and stuff like that. And then a week later, well, Portland's home. Who wouldn't want to go play in Portland with Damian Lillard? So, but and then you got Larry Nance, who's very good, but he's been hurt quite a bit this year. Deli recently just came back, so Colin Sexton's been the man. Aside from Darius Garland, who else? Right? Jared Allen is in the middle. He's not going to be ball dominant. He's just waiting for lobs and passes down low. He's not going to be ball dominant. He's not a ball carrier. So who else is going to be ball dominant? And it's just, this could just be a shot in the dark, and it's just somebody talking crap about a young Cavs team who was eliminated from playoff contention last night.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just such a frustrating thing with how good the Cavs were up until 2018, and then it just breaks off, all because of LeBron. The whole reason is because of LeBron. LeBron got rid of his most of his players from a 16 team to bring in Jordan Clarkson and all these other guys, and George Hill. And then what happens? They don't play well, so he gets them traded, and then he just up and leaves. Like, what are we supposed to do here? I'm not a big basketball GM. I don't know what to tell you. I think they just need to bring in a couple more veterans. Maybe some guys that have played in the league that we could give money to, because I know if we get rid of Kevin Love this offseason, we're going to have some cap space. And you could even work out a way to go up and maybe get Kyle Lowry or go down and get DeMar DeRozan, one of those guys. From what I've seen, that could be a possibility.
Just somebody that could lead this team, because they don't really have it. And it's all sorts of in disarray. I don't know where they're going to go in the draft this year, but they're certainly probably going to be picking high again.
Hey, why don't we trade Kevin Love to Washington and we'll get Russell Westbrook?
I mean, that's fine, right? Bring in somebody who's going to put effort into the team.
Right, and he can actually teach these young point guards how to play and how to play at that top competitor level.
Because the Wizards weren't anything this year, and he's made them a story, and he's been just as good as he was anywhere else. And I'm all for bringing Westbrook in. That'd be a jersey I buy right away.
So, I mean, I already have my Thunder Westbrook jersey. Why not get a Cavs one?
Yeah, that's one I'd get right away. But what you got for me? Anything else for basketball before we get into this day?
No, I do not.
All right, man. So what you got for me on this day in history?
All right, so we're going to change it up a little bit. This will not be this day in sports history. This will be this day in history. May 4th, 1970, the Ohio National Guards come into Kent, Ohio after days of unrest protesting the United States invasion into Cambodia. But on this day, they had locked down the city. Brendan, you know, if we were doing a podcast at this stage right now in the lobby,
yeah,
right now we would be seeing tanks go up and down the street. If this was 1970, it was that extreme. It was a war zone.
Yeah, it was bad.
So there was about 1,000 students on Blanket Hill around the whole area up there. Mm-hmm. They were throwing rocks. The National Guard was throwing tear gas. They were throwing the tear gas back. This, that, and the third. And then there was 13 seconds, 62 rounds fired. 62 rounds fired in 13 seconds. The National Guard had shot at the protesters, killing 4, 2 girls and 2 gentlemen, wounding 9 others. I'm going to give you the quick explanation of this because we are running out of time. But 2 of them weren't even at the protest. They were walking from their own classes. They weren't even there to protest, but they got hit with stray bullets. 2 of the 4 that were killed on May 4th, and obviously May 4th is a big deal in Kent, Ohio. It's also getting kind of overshined by everybody saying May the 4th be with you, which nobody in Kent really likes. May 4th is a sacred day in Kent, Ohio history. As you know, the song Ohio, 4 Dead in Ohio, was made about that. But that is what I have for this day in history.
Yeah, when I attended there, it was pretty somber to learn about. It was sad. They have the monument, they have the museum. If you're ever in Kent, Ohio, I suggest you check it out because it is not only a very, very big piece of Kent history, but a very, very big piece of American history that, like you said, gets looked over, especially on a day like today where it's Star Wars Day, and unfortunately it shares the same anniversary. As far as the song, 4 Dead in Ohio by Crosby, Stills, and Nash, might as well give them the shout out so people know who they look at. I suggest you check it out because once you know the story, that song becomes so much more eerie of a song. It hits so much differently now to me than it did when I was younger and heard it.
Yeah, and here's a quick fact. Crosby, Stills, and Nash have all played at the Kent stage, not together, but separately. And every time all 3 of them have played 4 Dead in Ohio. But yeah, it's just it's one of those things. It's a dark cloud over the city. Every May 4th, you got to remember that. And there's a documentary that they've shown at the Kent stage multiple times. It's called Fire in the Heartland, and they've even talked with people that are in the National Guard, maybe not on that documentary, but people that were on the front lines. They said they didn't know they had actual bullets in there because they were just given the rifles and the magazines. They thought they were rubber bullets that they were shooting.
Yeah.
And they don't they said they didn't know who called the fire command, but yeah, just a tragic day. Obviously, that has affected so many people's lives. Me growing up in Kent, I've been to multiple of the May 4th memorials on May 4th. Obviously, we haven't been able to have it for 2 years now, but yeah, it's a staple in Kent, Ohio. And going to the Smithsonian when I was in a sophomore in high school, they had a big plaque there, a giant plaque with the one picture of the lady with her hands up. Yeah, just a sad day in Kent, Ohio history.
Yeah, it really was. And just if you don't know the history or the information or the details, I suggest you research and learn, because it is. And I think it, like you said, it was a war zone. And I think last summer we seen a lot of stuff that similarly reminded me of what was going on there.
Yeah, I can understand that. A lot of, the National Guard coming into a lot of places. I could see that.
It wasn't over war, but it was pretty similar to just kind of like some of the pictures and screen grabs you see from back in May 4th, colorized.
Yeah, I could totally see that. But yes, May 4th, 1970, a day that'll live in infamy in Kent, Ohio. If you ever get a chance to come to Kent, Ohio, go up to Kent State, go to the May 4th Museum, you can see they have the parking spots like taped off, not taped off, but they can put the candles.
Yeah, they have the monuments on
all four spots.
Yeah, on all four spots where they were laying dead. The museum is gorgeous, but it also is one of those things that's gut-wrenching. It is. It's gut-wrenching to realize that you're standing on a campus mere feet from where something like that happened.
Absolutely. Anything else you got for us, Brendan?
Not really, my man. Where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at ETHSimpsonCGOD. You can follow me on Instagram at ETHSimpson. You can follow my main man at
BWardCLE on Twitter, at B.Ward52 on Instagram. Go ahead and follow the podcast at Podcast Given on Twitter. Instagram is at Any Given Podcast. Facebook.com/Any Given Podcast. Please do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube. You guys have a wonderful and fantastic rest of your week.
God bless, stay blessed, and you know what? Be kind to each other.
Be very kind.